I think we are okay now. And now let me share the screen. Hare Krishna. Sorry about that. It was technical thing, which is always technical and spirituality doesn't go well together. Uh, okay, so this is the chapter of uh, the chapter 12 of Krishna book, the killing of Aghasura. So if anybody would like to volunteer for reading, maybe 2-3 paragraphs in the beginning, I'll tell you when to stop. So if anybody would like to read,
I will read if nobody else wants to.
yes, Crystal, please go ahead.
Once the Lord, Hare Krishna, everybody. Once the Lord desired to go early in the morning with all his cowboy boys to the forest, where they were assembling together and take lunch. As soon as he got up from bed, he blew his buffalo horn bugle and called all his friends together. Keeping the calves before them, they started for the forest in great procession. In this way, Lord Krishna assembled thousands of his boyfriends. They were each equipped with a stick, flute, and horn, as well as lunch bag, and each of them was taking care of thousands of calves. All the boys appeared very jolly and happy in that excursion. Each and every one of them, including Krishna, was attentive to his personal calves, and he herded them in different places in the forest. The boys were fully decorated with various kinds of golden ornaments, yet out of sporting propensities, they began to pick up flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, and red clay from different places in the forest, and further decorate themselves in different ways. While passing through the forest, one boy stole another one's lunch package and passed it to a third. And when the boy whose lunch packet was stolen came to know of it, he tried to take it back. But the boy who threw it to another boy, this sportive playing went on among the boys as childhood pastimes.
Go on, Crystal, yes.
When Lord Krishna went ahead to the distant place in order to see some specific scenery, the boys behind him ran to try and catch up and be the first to touch him. So there was great competition. One would say, I will go there and touch Krishna. And another would say, oh, you cannot go. I'll touch Krishna first. Some of them played on their flutes or vibrated bugles made of buffalo horns. Some of them gladly followed the peacocks and imitated the sounds of the cuckoo. While the birds were flying in the sky, the boys ran after the birds' shadows along the ground and tried to follow their exact courses. Some of them went to the monkeys and silently sat down beside them, and some of them imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some of them caught monkeys by the tail and played with them, and when the monkeys jumped onto the tree, the boys followed. When a monkey showed its face and teeth, the boys imitated and showed their teeth to the monkeys. Some of the boys played with the frogs on the bank of the Yamuna. And when, out of fear, the frogs jumped into the water, the boys immediately dove in after them. And when the boys came out of the water and saw their own shadows, they would stand imitating, making caricatures and laughing. They would also go to an empty well and make loud sounds. And when the echo came back, they would call it ill names and laugh.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Crystal. That's very
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So this is this beautiful description of Krishna and his friends going early in the morning in the pastures with their cows. And Krishna, he's not even 5 years old yet. He's just nearly 5, just about to become 6. And see how much fun they have, in Vrindavan. Anybody can remember? These boys carried three things. Anybody remember the description? They carried three things when they went out.
Was it one of them a stick, Prabhuji?
Yes, stick. Then
Their lunch,
yes.
and a horn.
A horn, yes. And one more thing. Actually, lunch everybody had, but the other three things they carried with them. Flute, yes. So these boys had a stick, the horn, the buffalo horn, and a flute. And they also had their lunch packs with them. And then all the boys with their cows. And there are thousands of boys. Can you imagine? Thousands of boys, all just about 5 years old. And they are going with Krishna, and they're very jolly in the morning. Let's go to the forest. And each boy had thousands of cows. And they were all taking personal care of their cows, and they'll take them, different places. And the boys were simply, happy being with Krishna. My dear friends, this pastime that we are discussing, this is actually from spiritual world. Krishna comes in this world, and he shows, what we are missing out. So these boys, the enjoyment or the pleasure that they are, deriving being with Krishna, we cannot even imagine. It's not a material pleasure. It's not a picnic, so to say. It looks like a little, but it is a picnic. But it is, unlimited times more, joyful than just going out in pastures. So these boys, they are going with Krishna, and while they are, going, they're having so many games. It is mentioned that the boys, you take one boy's lunch box and pass it to other, and then have a very sporting competition. And then sometimes, Krishna, he just walks towards a place, to see the nice scenery of Vrindavan. And then the boys, okay, I'll touch Krishna first. They all run. And then the nice competition, and then they touch Krishna. And then in the forest, now Vrindavan, the opulence of Vrindavan, it is immeasurable. The boys, they are, playing so many games. One of the game is so the boys, they are in the forest, and they one of the games they played is one of the not the game, but the way they kind of enjoyed in the forest. The boy will imitate the monkey. They'll sit down next to the monkey, or they would chase the shadow of the bird on the ground, and then and sometimes they play with the frogs. So various such things are mentioned in this wonderful description. I don't know how many of us ever had this pleasure of playing like this in the forest. Probably none. I didn't had I had some some village bringing up when I was growing up, but not this much fun. So this is the pleasure of of Vrindavan. When cowherd boys, they are simply enjoying in the company of Krishna. So, as we just mentioned in the beginning of class, Krishna comes for three reasons: to give pleasure to his devotees, to kill the demons, and to reestablish the principles of religion. So in this whole chapter, the killing of Aghasura, it is there, but in a very small section. The most of it is giving pleasure to his devotees. Now let's go on to the next section of this chapter. And there is a nice paragraph by Prabhupada. Let's read this about the Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan realization. So if somebody would like to read it, you can read it now.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Anthony Prabhu, please go ahead.
Okay. As stated personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, He is realized proportionately by transcendentalists as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, in confirmation of the same statement, Lord Krishna, who awards the personalist the pleasure of Brahman realization by his bodily effulgence, also gives pleasure to the devotees as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are under the spell of the external energy Maya take him only as a beautiful child. Yet he gave full transcendental pleasure to the cowherd boys who played with him. Only after accumulating heaps of pious activities were those boys promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? They were personally seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he whom many yogis cannot find even after undergoing severe austerities, although he is sitting within their hearts. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. One may search for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages of the Vedas and Upanishads, but it is difficult to find him there. However, one who is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. After accumulating pious activities in many, many previous lives, the cowherd boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with him as friends. They could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing as intimate friends with intense love for him.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Indari. So here, dear friends, the Prabhupada is just replicating these shlokas from Bhagavatam, that the boys, those who are playing with Krishna, who can estimate their good fortune? And it is said that to have that personal association with Krishna and playing with Krishna face to face, it is so rare. And they said they must have done the heaps and heaps of pious activities, and after that they were awarded this great fortune of seeing Krishna face to face. So these kinds of gives us the hope that the seeing the Lord face to face, it is possible. It is just that we have to be sincere in our effort. Yes, it is difficult. We have our own, materialistic desires and aspirations and goals. They are weighing down us into this material world. But if we are sincere enough, if we make the primary goal of our life that I have done with this materialistic life, I have tried to enjoy in this material world for countless births. Sometimes in human body, sometimes in animal body, sometimes as a plant, sometimes as aquatics, sometimes in high planets, low planets. I've been through so many places, but I am not finding my real pleasure, the pleasure of the soul. That is only available with God, with Krishna. So I'm done with that. Now I want to go back, and play with Krishna. If we make our aspiration and goal of our life, then Krishna from within our heart, he will inspire us how to come back. Krishna is more interested and more eager to take us back to Godhead than our own interest and aspiration. He is more says, come, please come, I want you to come now immediately. But we are not ready to go. And we have so many reasons. Our dear George Harrison Prabhu, he wrote this beautiful song, My Sweet Lord. And in that song, he describes this, this beautiful, prayers of a devotee. He said, my Lord, oh my sweet Lord, I want to see you. I want to be with you. But it takes so long, my Lord. Beautiful song, when I first heard, I couldn't stop crying. That in the whole, these our aspirations to be with Lord, is such a nicely, captured in these very simple words. That as a devotee, we want to be with you, with Krishna. We want to play with him. We want to be with him. But it takes so long, my Lord. So why it takes so long? Because our own impurities and our own, distractions and our materialistic desires, and but here in these pages of Krishna book, and in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we get the idea, and we get the the required motivation to be done with this materialistic life, and go back to Godhead. Our dear Srila Prabhupada, he mentioned that in Kali Yuga, the Lord, he gives us this very special facility, that in this age of Kali Yuga, simply by chanting the name of Lord, we are given the highest perfection. But we have to chant the name of the Lord very sincerely, very attentively, without any offense, in a very simple heart, very simple prayerful mode. That my Lord, I want to be with you. I want to come with you. Please engage me in your service. So when we are, chanting the name of the Lord, all the purification will happen. All those things which are weighing down us, in this material world, will slowly will disappear. And then when we are ready to, and we are purified enough, then Lord will take us personally back to Godhead. So this is the the great facility that Lord has given. In the scripture it says Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. That in the age of Kali, the Krishna has personally come in the form of his name. And when we are associating with Krishna in the form of his name, all the purification will happen. All that is troubling us will disappear. So we simply have to chant his name. And all the purification will happen. All the perfection will come in due course of time. So my dear friends, what we are talking in this, what we are hearing in this Krishna book, we can be one of that cowherd boy. We can be one of that gopi in Vrindavan. We can be one of that calf. We can be one of that monkey. We can be one of that peacock. Whatever we want to be. As we said last time, in Vrindavan, every devotee is completely satisfied serving Krishna. So all that perfection is possible. And it is said this Kali Yuga, the process has become very simple. As Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, that for the yogis, to be with Krishna, Paramatma, Krishna in the form of Paramatma is there in the heart. But it takes him, for thousands and thousands and years of meditation and austerities and, and meditation and so many things. And still he's not able to see the Lord in his heart. It's so difficult. But in the path of bhakti, it is so easy. That simply by chanting Krishna's name, that all that perfection, which is not even possible for the yogis, it is given simply by chanting the name of Krishna. So let's move on. Now next is the description of Aghasura. While the boys are enjoying with Krishna, Aghasura comes along and he is trying to create a little trouble. So anybody like to read this few paragraphs of the chapter?
Okay, Guruji.
Yes, Panjanath Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, everybody. When Lord Krishna was enjoying his childhood pastimes with his boyfriends, one Aghasura demon became very impatient. He was unable to tolerate seeing Krishna play so happily, and therefore he appeared before the boys, intending to kill them all. This Aghasura was so dangerous that even the denizens of heaven were afraid of him. Although denizens of heaven drank nectar daily to prolong their lives, they were afraid of this Aghasura and were wondering when will the demon be killed. The denizens used to drink necessary nectar to become immortal, but actually they were not confident of their immortality. On the other hand, the boys who were playing with Krishna had no fear of demons. They were free of fear. Any material arrangement for protecting oneself from death is always unsure. But if one is in Krishna consciousness, then immortality is confidently assured. The demon Aghasura appeared before Krishna and his friends. Aghasura happened to be a younger brother of Putana and Bakasura, and he thought Krishna has killed his brother and sister. Now I shall kill him along with all his friends and cows. Aghasura was instigated by Krishna, so he had come with determination. Kamsa, and he had come with determination. Aghasura also thought that he would offer grains and water in memory of his brother and sister and kill Krishna and all the cowherd boys. Then automatically all the inhabitants of Vandana could die. Generally, for the householders, children are life and breath force. When all children die, the naturally the parents also die on account of strong affection for them. Aghasura, thus deciding to kill all the inhabitants of Vrindavana, explained himself by the yogic siddhi called Mahima. The demons are generally expert in achieving almost all kinds of mystic powers. In the yoga system, by perfection called Mahima Siddhi, one can expand himself as he desires. The demon Aghasura expanded himself up to 8 miles and assumed the shape of very fat serpent. Having attained the wonderful body, he stretched his mouth open just like a mountain cave, declaring to swallow all the boys at once, including the Krishna, Balarama. He sat on the path. The demon, in the shape of a big fat serpent, expanded his lips from land to sky. His lower lip was touching the ground and upper lip was touching the clouds. His jaw appeared like a big mountain cave without limitation, and his teeth appeared just like mountain summits. His tongue appeared to be a broad traffic way, and he was breathing just like a hurricane. His eyes were blazing like fire. At first, boys thought the demon was a statue, but after examining it, they saw it was a big serpent lying down on the road and widening his mouth. The boys began to talk among themselves. Dear friend, this figure appears to be a great animal, and he is sitting in such a posture to swallow us all. Just a sec, it is not a big snake, and we widened his mouth to eat all of us. One of them said,
we stop here, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So anybody who is afraid of snake, please don't hear this description of Aghasura. While these boys, were enjoying with Krishna in the forest, this demon appeared on the scene, and his name was Aghasura. So this demon, he was a great mystic. Mystic is the person who does this, yogic postures, and he does those yogic procedures by which he gets various siddhis, or various achievements. And there are, 8 astada siddhi. There are 8 kind of achievements one can have as siddhis. Anima, lagima, prapti. Like one can be smaller than the smaller, bigger than the biggest. Prapti, he can take anything from anywhere in the world. He can read people's mind. He can be lighter than the wind, so forth and so on. So Prabhupada mentions this demon was one of that mystic yogi. So here there is one, precautions we have to see that not all yogis are devotees. Some yogis, they do meditation just to get all these achievements, all these qualifications. Some, where they can create trouble in the world. So this Aghasura here, this Mahima Siddhi, that he can be bigger, and then he can take any form. So he was, here it is mentioned, he was the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura. Krishna, the Putana came when Krishna was a very small baby. Putana came to kill Krishna by feeding her poison, but she was delivered by Krishna. And then, in the last chapter, we saw the 2 demons, Vatsasura and Bakasura. So Bakasura was another brother of Putana. So both the brothers and sisters are dead, and remaining brother, the Aghasura, he wanted to take revenge. That how can he kill my family? So he wanted to take revenge, and he came in the form of Aghasura, this giant serpent. And when he took this form of a serpent, a kind of a python, he expanded himself, 8 miles long serpent. Let me share this picture. You will see how big this serpent is. You see the behind, here, this his body is shown here. Is 8 mile long, and his mouth, he just opened his mouth, and it appeared like a big mountain cave. And it is said that his lower lip was touching ground and his upper lip was touching the sky. It was such a big wide mouth, and his eyes were like red hot fire, and when he was breathing, it was like hurricane. So it is a very giant form that he took, but he was very envious. Why he took this form? So that he would just swallow Krishna and Balram. In fact, on that day, Balram was not there. You see in this picture, Balram was not. He came to swallow both of them, but Balram was not there. We'll come to that point, later on, why Balram was not there. In fact, that day was Balram's appearance day. So that's why he didn't come. He was there at home. So these boys, they saw this is very nice plaything. They saw this Aghasura's mouth. He says, oh, this is something we never seen this before. Where is this come from? So in next few paragraph, we'll see the discussion between the boys and their faith in Krishna. So let's read those couple of paragraphs, and then we'll discuss, the boys' faith in Krishna. So some of them, one of you can now read a few more paragraphs. Anyone?
Yeah. One of them said, yes, what you say is true. This animal's upper lip appears to be just like the sunshine, and its lower lip is just like the reflection of red sunshine on the ground. Dear friends, just look at the right and left hand side of the mouth of the animal. Its mouth appears to be like a big mountain cave, and its height cannot be estimated. The chin is also raised like a mountain summit. That long highway appears to be its tongue, and inside the mouth it is as dark as in a mountain cave. The hot wind that is blowing like a hurricane is his breathing, and the fishy bad smell coming out from his mouth is the smell of his intestines. Then they further consulted among themselves. If we all at one time entered into the mouth of this great serpent, how could it possibly swallow all of us? And even if it were to swallow all of us at once, it could not swallow Krishna. Krishna will immediately kill him, as he did Aghasura. Talking in this way, all the boys looked at the beautiful lotus-like face of Krishna, and they began to clap and smile. And so they marched forward and entered the mouth of the gigantic serpent. Meanwhile, Krishna, who is the super soul within everyone's heart, could understand that the big statuesque figure was a demon. The boys did not know this, however, and thus while Krishna was planning how to stop the destruction of his intimate friends, all the boys along with their calves entered the mouth of the serpent. But Krishna didn't enter. The demon was awaiting Krishna's entrance, and he was thinking, everyone has entered except Krishna, who has killed my brother and sister. Krishna is the assurance of safety to everyone, but when he saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of the great serpent, he became momentarily aggrieved. He was also struck with wonder at how the external energy worked so wonderfully. He then began to consider how he could kill the demon and at the same time save the boys and calves. Although there was no factual concern on Krishna's part, he was thinking like that. Finally, after some deliberation, he also entered the mouth of the demon. When Krishna entered, all the demigods who had gathered to see the fun and who were hiding within the clouds expressed their feelings with the words, "Alas, alas." At the same time, all the friends of Aghasura, especially Kamsa, who were all accustomed to eating flesh and blood, expressed their jubilation, understanding that Krishna had also entered the mouth of the demon.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you very much, Anthony Prabhu. I'll stop here. So, when these boys, when they saw this Aghasura's mouth, many of them realized, this is something very unusual, and it's like a, serpent, and, it is something very dangerous. And they're talking amongst themselves and says, this is so, unusual. And someone says, "Oh, we should not go." And many says, "No, let's go inside. And what harm he can make? We have Krishna with us." So this is, really, interesting fact. The Brajbasis, they don't consider Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. They just think Krishna is just their friends. He's just Krishna, and we love him. And they have so much love and so much affection for Krishna. So they are so fearless in his company. They say, when we are with Krishna, what harm can come on us? If it is a serpent, let it be. We'll go inside and, we'll have nice fun. And then, if there is any trouble, that Krishna is there, and then he will kill this demon, so they had no fear. So my dear friends, we take a great lesson from this one. That Krishna's devotees, they are never fearful of any trouble. Trouble will come and go. In our material world, this dukkhalayam shashvatam. This is the ocean of suffering. In ocean, how much water is there? So there is a suffering here everywhere. At other place, padam padam yat vipadam. At every step, there is an trouble. But when the devotees have Krishna in their life, they are completely fearless. Yes, trouble is there, some difficulties are there. Let's deal with it. So Krishna's devotees have complete faith in Krishna. Says if Krishna, Krishna, he is the protector of his devotees, and he will surely protect us. So when we have that faith in Krishna, then devotees become completely fearless. And it is not just one day, these boys, they had, that yes, today, Krishna will protect us. All the Brajbasis have, complete faith in Krishna. Earlier, we talked about, the Govardhan Puja, when the rain was coming, heavy rain was coming. This is Krishna, we do something. Krishna was a small boy, and he lifted Govardhan hill. And earlier, if he in the 11th chapter, we talked about, Vatsasur and Bakasur. Now, children definitely, when they went back home, they must have told their parents, see, today these two demons came and, and then Krishna killed them. Now, an ordinary parent, he will say, tomorrow I'm not sending my child into the forest. Forest is very dangerous. It is not, I'm not, health and safety reason. From tomorrow, my child is not going there. But the Brajavas is also, Krishna is going, no problem whatsoever. Krishna will always protect, everyone. So even the parents are completely fearless. You'll see in these chapters of Krishna book that in every other chapter, there is some demon or some trouble is there. So why not then, the Brajvasis, they just lock themselves down in their houses. This Vrindavan is very horrible place. All the demons are coming in, so much trouble is there. No, they're completely fearless. So if we have some troubles in our life, I'm sure we all have, then what is the solution for it? Just be in association of Krishna and his devotees. Just follow this process of devotional service very nicely. We do not have Krishna, face-to-face writers with us to protect us. But Krishna is there. As you just said, Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna's holy name is there in the form. So Krishna himself is there in the form of his holy name. And Krishna's devotees are there. And as long as we have Krishna's holy name, Krishna's devotees, we should feel completely fearless. And Krishna, he promised in Bhagavad Gita, Yogakshamam Mahamyam, that for my devotees, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. But it is Krishna's prerogative. He will decide what he will give and what he will preserve. We make Krishna list, that Krishna, you please give this me, or please protect, what I have gathered, thinking that this is good for me. But devotees, this is Krishna, whatever you think it is good for me, you do it. You are more intelligent than me. So I know one devotee was giving class. We all, devotees in their naive or immature condition, they pray to Krishna. Oh Krishna, you are great. You can do everything. You are controller of everything. And then you are the well-wisher of your devotees. But Krishna, you give me this, and Krishna, you protect from this, thinking that Krishna does not know what is best for me. So I'll tell Krishna what is best for me. So there, we make little mistake that Krishna, you don't know what is good for me. I know what is good for me. So we should be just like these Brajvasis. That Krishna, for your pleasure, I will do everything which gives you pleasure. And on that way, in that my endeavor, if any trouble comes, I'm sure you will protect me from it. So these Brajvasis, these boys has so much faith in Krishna. So next time when we go and pray to Krishna, you should pray to Krishna. Krishna, please give me the faith that the Brajvasis has in you. And that fearlessness, and that love and affection that Brajvasi has, that they have for you. We do not need to ask anything to Krishna, but simply that faith. So, and then the next session comes, how can we have faith? How can we cultivate? So we said last time, the faith is cultivated in the association of Krishna's devotees. So we should have that sadhu sangha, the association of Krishna's devotees. And that faith is, nurtured very nicely. Okay, now let's move on. Now in the next section, how Krishna, he kills Aghasura. Beautiful description is there. And what happens once Aghasura dies? Something very unusual happens at the end, when Aghasura dies. So let's go through those particular paragraphs. So I'll share it again and somebody can read now.
I will read.
Okay, Priyarani will read now. Meanwhile, Krishna. No, Krishna is the essence of safety. Krishna is the assurance.
Krishna is the assurance of safety to everyone. But when he saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of a great serpent, he became momentarily aggrieved. He was also struck with wonder at how the external energy works so wonderfully. He then began to consider how he could kill the demon and at the same time save the boys and cows. Although there was no factual concern on Krishna's part, he was thinking like that. Finally, after some deliberation, he also entered the mouth of the demon. When Krishna entered, all the demigods who had gathered to see the fun and who were hiding within the clouds expressed their feelings with the words, "Alas, alas." At the same time, all the friends of Aghasur, especially Kamsa, who were all accustomed to eating flesh and blood, expressed their jubilation, understanding that Krishna had also entered the mouth of the demon. While the demon was trying to smash Krishna and his companions, Krishna heard the demigods crying, "Alas, alas!" And he immediately began to expand himself within the throat of the demon. Although he had a gigantic body, the demon choked by the expanding of Krishna. His big eyes moved violently, and he quickly suffocated. His life air could not come out from any source, and ultimately it burst out of a hole in the upper part of his skull. Thus, his life air passed off. After the demon was dead, Krishna, with his transcendental glance alone, brought all the boys and cows back to consciousness and came with them out of the mouth of the demon. While Krishna was within the mouth of Aghasura, the demon's spirit soul came out like a dazzling light, illuminating all directions, and waited in the sky. As soon as Krishna came out of the mouth of the demon with his cows and friends, that glittering effulgent light immediately merged into the body of Krishna within the vision of all the demigods. The demigods became overwhelmed with joy and showered flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and thus they worshipped him. The denizens of heaven danced in jubilation, and the denizens in Gandharva Loka offered various kinds of prayers. Drummers beat drums in jubilation, the Brahmanas recited Vedic hymns, and all the devotees of the Lord chanted the words, Jai, Jai, all glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Lord Brahma heard those auspicious vibrations, which sounded throughout the higher planetary system, he immediately came down to see what had happened. He saw that the demon was killed, and he was struck with wonder at the uncommon, glorious pastimes of the personality of Godhead.
Just put this last bit.
The gigantic mouth of the demon remained in an open position for many days and gradually dried up. It remained a spot of pleasure pastimes for all the cowherd boys.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear. So now, Krishna, he is, as we heard from Krishna book, that he was viewed at how this, material energy is working. Even my own friend, they've gone into this the mouth of Aghasura, and then he's, thinking, how can I, deliver, or how can I kill this demon Aghasura? So he entered into the mouth of Aghasura, that my friends have gone in, I must, they've gone with complete faith in me, so I must go and rescue them. So he goes inside the mouth, and as soon as he goes into the mouth, the Aghasura closes his mouth. Yes, this is the, he was waiting for Krishna to enter in his mouth. And when that happened, here it is mentioned that all the demigods, they were all gathered in the sky, and it says, oh, such a, we never thought this will happen. Now this looks like this demon is killed Krishna. Krishna is already inside in him. So they were all saying, alas, alas, what has this happened? And then Kamsa's associates, they were also gathered, there. And for them, it was a victory. See, our mission was to kill Krishna. And today it looks like Aghasura has done the job. Krishna is killed. He's no longer, visible. So, this is, like it is said, the temporary pleasures of this world. So all these demoniac people, they are all so happy in those temporary small wins. So they thought Krishna is dead. But Krishna, he had just gone there, to rescue his friends. And when he inside, he just went to his throat, and Krishna expanded himself. and he choked. And because of his big form inside, the Aghasur could not breathe. And he was choked and choked and choked. And he's finally has to give up his life. And here it is mentioned, his soul just burst open. His life had just burst open his skull, and his soul then came out. And here it is mentioned, it stayed for some time in the sky, and everything was very bright and effulgent. So here, just take a little pause and see what exactly has happened. This Aghasur demon, he was a great mystic. And he thought, with my great mystic power, I can kill God. He has to do so many austerities and tapasya and meditations, and after that, so much trouble, he received these achievements, this particular siddhi. But he forgot that all these siddhis comes originally from Krishna. One of the name of Krishna is Yogeshwar. He is the actual owner or the source of all this mystic power. So Aghasur, he did so much trouble throughout his life getting all these siddhis. And what did he use this siddhi for? To kill Krishna, to destroy Krishna. He received those siddhi from Krishna only, and they used that siddhi to kill Krishna. Such a foolish things to do. So Krishna, for him, for him, it was not a great deal to kill this demon. He just, used, he's a Yogeshwar. He also used the same siddhi. He also became very big went in his mouth and became big. He choked, and within few seconds, he died. So for Krishna, it was not a great deal to kill this demon. So here, we see this futility of these demons. They take so much trouble to challenge the authority of the God. But the God, his energies are so strong that, they have been defeated. These demons are defeated time and time and again. And then that's why in the pages of Bhagavatam and in Bhagavad Gita, these people are termed as mudhas or foolish people. So the Aghasur, he died. His life had burst open his skull, and then his soul was resting in the sky. And then the Krishna, he came out of his mouth, and all the coward boys, they also came out from his mouth. And then it is something very unusual happened, that this, as soon as Krishna came out, this soul of Aghasur, he came down, it merged with Krishna. So here it is mentioned that they got a Sayujya Mukti, so impersonal liberation. So he also, these demons got impersonal liberation. So when Krishna kills someone, even they get liberation. But their liberation, it is impersonal. They go up to the level of Brahma Jyoti. Someday we'll talk about different kinds of liberation. So this impersonal liberation is the lowest kind of liberation. There are various kinds of liberations are there. And this is the lowest liberation. And in this liberation, it is, you do not get that personal association of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. Anyway, so off topic. So, so this Aghasur, is now dead. His soul is merged into Krishna. And then when this is happening, the Lord Brahma, he, in his Satyaloka planet, he heard this commotion, because when Aghasur died, all these demigods, they were, jubilant. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. They started all their bugles and drums and, and this big celebration, and, and the Gandharvas were singing, and, the Vidyadhars are dancing, and, so many jubilation was there. This demon is dead today, because as we heard earlier, the demons were so these demigods were so fearful of this Aghasur demon that when he's going to die, when he's going to die, he's such a troublemaker. And today he's dead, and then everybody is making such a wonderful celebration. And Brahma hears this, and he comes on the scene, saying that what has happened. And he says, "Oh, this Aghasura has died." Again, Brahmaji, he is the in charge of whole running of the universe, and for him also this Aghasura was a great trouble, and he was also very happy that this demon is dead now. But this leads to another story. In the next chapter, Lord Brahma, he steals the friends of Krishna. So we'll take that story in next chapter. Beautiful story is there. So please do not miss that story. Again, in that story, beautiful lessons are there. We'll do it next week. So here, when Aghasura was dead, his body was such a long, big body. It took months and days to body to dry up. And it's mentioned that the boys, they used to go to the forest and and play with the dead body, the dried body of Aghasura, because big skull, so they're making nice. So actually, here our acharyas explain that one of the reason Krishna, he gave this impersonal liberation, that even though he came with the wrong motive to harm the Brajavasi, but in a way he gave for some time he gave pleasure to his devotees. Like then the cowherd boys, they would say, "Oh, this is nice caves, nice facility to make some, let some have adventure." So he gave some pleasure to his devotees. So Krishna is happy. "Oh, you gave some pleasure to my devotees. Okay, I give you this impersonal liberation." And also after his death, the boys used, his dead dried skin, again for some recreation. So Aghasura, in a way, he gave some pleasure to his Krishna's devotees. So Krishna was happy with that, and then in exchange, he gave that liberation to him. And now, last few paragraphs, we'll complete this chapter. So somebody can just finish this chapter now.
I can read.
Yes, Krishna, go ahead.
The killing of Aghasura took place when Krishna and all his boyfriends were under 5 years old. Children under 5 years old are called Kumara. Is that right?
Yes,
Kumara. The 5 years up to the 10th year are called Puganda. Puganda. And from the 10th year up to the 15th, they are called Kesura.
Yeah.
Keshura. After the 15th year, boys are called youths. For 1 year, there was no discussion of the incident of the Aghasura demon in the village of Vraja. But when the boys attained their 6th year, they informed their parents of the incident with great wonder. For Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is far greater than such demigods as Lord Brahma, it is not at all difficult to award one of the opportunity of merging with his eternal body. This he awarded to Aghasura. Aghasura was certainly the most sinful living entity, and it is not possible for the sinful to merge into the existence of the absolute truth. But in this particular case, because Krishna entered into Aghasura's body, the demon became fully cleansed of all sinful recreations. Persons constantly thinking of the eternal form of the Lord in the shape of the deity or in the shape of a mental form are awarded the transcendental benediction of entering into the kingdom of God and associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can just imagine the elevated position of someone like Aghasura, into whose body the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna personally entered. Great sages, meditators, and devotees constantly keep the form of the Lord within their hearts, or they see the deity form of the Lord in their temples. And that way they become liberated from all material contamination. And at the end, the body enters into the kingdom of God. This perfection is possibly simply by keeping the form of Lord within the mind. But in the case of Aghasura, the supreme personality of Godhead personally entered. Aghasura's position was therefore greater than the ordinary devotee or the greatest yogis.
Yes.
Maharaj Parikshit was engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, who saved the life of Maharaji Parikshit. Thank you. While he was in the womb of his mother, became more and more interested to hear about him, and thus he questioned the sage Sukadeva Goswami, who was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam before the king. King Parikshit was a bit astonished to understand that the killing of Aghasura demon was not discussed for 1 year until the boys attained the Puganda age. Maharaja Parikshit was very inquisitive to learn about this, for he was sure that such an incident was due to the working of Krishna's different energies. Generally, the Kshatriyas or the administrative class are always busy with their political affairs, and they have very little chance of hearing about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. But while Parikshit Maharaji was hearing these transcendental pastimes, he considered himself to be very fortunate, because not only was he hearing Krishna's pastimes, but he was doing so from Sukadeva Goswami, the greatest authority on the Srimad Bhagavatam, thus being requested by Maharaji Parikshit. Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna in the matter of his form, qualities, fame, and paraphernalia.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for kind of you. Yeah. This is the science of Bhaktivedanta purport of the 12th chapter of Krishna, the killing of the Aghasura demon. So in this last concluding, paragraphs of this chapter, Prabhupada mentions that that this story of killing of Aghasura, was narrated to Brajabasi after 1 year. And here the reference is given that when this episode happened, that time they were 5 years old. So in the Vedic understanding, this the early childhood, it is defined by different names. So first 5 years, the children are called Kaumara. The next is Poganda. So 0 to 5 Kaumara, 5 to 10 Poganda, and 10 to 15 Kaishore. And then 15 onwards, it's young age, youth. So when this episode happened, they were all about 5 years old, They were Kaumara. But this story was narrated to Brajabasis when they were in the Poganda age. So why this 1 year took? So this whole story, Prabhupada mentions in this book here, because this story is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this story actually is narrated by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So Shukdev Goswami said this story was narrated to Brajabasi after 1 year, when they were in the Poganda age. So Parikshit Maharaj, immediately asked questions. My dear Shukdev Goswami, how is this? It took 1 year to narrate this story. Why they waited to narrate the one year? So please tell me what is the reason behind this. So that story, it is now captured in the next chapter. So as you just mentioned earlier, that Brahmaji, he comes and he's astonished. Oh, this demon is killed. And then Brahmaji, he does something. And what he does, we'll see in the next chapter. So this this whole chapter of Aghasur, many lessons are there. This the last lesson that we'll catch up on now is the Krishna's mercy. We discussed that because Krishna's friend, God, Aghasur gave some pleasure to them, so Krishna was happy with him. And also, Krishna gave him liberation because whenever anybody who comes in contact with Krishna, he gets purification in one way or the other. So it is said that when Krishna entered the body of Aghasur, his body was completely purified. And Krishna, he gave him the liberation. Earlier, we saw that his sister Putna, she came to feed Krishna poison mixed with with the milk. But Krishna, he didn't see that wrong intention. I mean, he did see that, but he only took the essence of it. Said, no, actually, she has come to feed me milk. And who feeds the child a milk? A mother. So she has come as a mother. So Krishna, though he killed her, but she was given the liberation in the Golok Vrindavan as the nurse of Krishna, which is the same position as Krishna's mother. So here again, Aghasur, he gave some pleasure to Krishna. Krishna purified his body. And Krishna also gave him liberation. So my dear friend, if these demons, they come and approach Krishna with the wrong intention to harm Krishna and his devotees, but accidentally they give some pleasure to Krishna or his devotees, and they are given this great liberation. What to speak of the devotees? They approach Krishna to please Krishna and to please his devotees. Don't you think Krishna will not reciprocate to the devotees who are positively serving them, his devotees and Krishna? No doubt Krishna will definitely will be pleased with these devotees and will take us back home, back to Godhead. So we get this great reassurance that Krishna definitely 100% without mistake, without missing out anything, he reciprocates to the loving devotional service of his own devotee. If Krishna is so merciful to these demons, he will not be merciful to his devotees. Definitely he will be merciful. So we should have, this pastime should give us a lot of faith in our heart. And let me, perform my devotion service with lots of sincerity, with my complete, dedication to this process of chanting Krishna's name and associating with his devotees. Then Krishna will surely, whatever troubles we have, he will remove it, and our path home back to Godhead will be very much for us to tread through, and we one day, whenever Krishna decides, we'll go back home, back to Godhead. So this is the lesson we take from Aghasur. It's the killing of Aghasur. Many other lessons are there. You can, in your spare time, please read this chapter again, and I'm sure you will learn quite a few things. So I stop here, and if anybody has any questions or comments, you can ask now.